Hey, Jill Amy Sager here. Thanks for stopping by. Today I want to talk about resiliency. I was driving with my husband and we were heading to the hardware store. And to get to the hardware store here in Eugene, you're basically on a 4-lane road that takes you through a pretty gritty part of town. There are a lot of people struggling there. And I'm not just talking about people who are poor. I'm talking about people who have mental illness, people who it's obvious that it's difficult for them to take care of themselves. They're not leading lush lives. And whenever I drive down toward that way, my heart just sinks a little bit. And the other day when he and I were heading down that strip, I thought suddenly about that word resiliency. And what I realized, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but my thought at that time was how some of us are resilient and some of us aren't. And for me, that made me more sad, made me more introspective about my own life in many ways. I grew up physically disabled, and it was at a time when being that way, being different, walking with a brace, walking with a limp, having scoliosis, which is a curved back, which at the time was very severe. I had surgery, which corrected most of it. And I could go on and on about it, but my point is that I was not favored in terms of society's view of me. And my self-esteem was very low. Now, I understand for myself that I must have had resiliency because I did not grow up with emotional support about this lack of acceptance. My parents were not good at it. There's a lot I could go into, but trust me, for most of my growing up, I was on my own to deal with how other people saw me, and it wasn't always kind. And I thought about how maybe I was born with a certain amount of resiliency in order to become the person I am today, right? I really, again, not going to go into a long story about my childhood right now, but I was told once by a therapist that I'm lucky that in some ways, and I'm using lucky, maybe loosely, lucky in some ways that I'm not at my age sitting in a corner, in a dark corner, rocking. I mean, really, I had a certain amount of trauma growing up around related to my disability and other things that happened. So my point is that, again, I have resiliency and I learned to love myself. I didn't want to succumb to a life where I didn't have choice, to a life where I was beaten down by my suffering. And I'm doing this video today because I think maybe we all need to think about resiliency. How resilient are you? And again, my heart goes out to who I see on that road heading toward the hardware store, because no matter what has happened to them in life, I can tell that they're suffering from it. And they obviously don't have the resiliency. They don't have that sense within themselves to be able to, or the skill, and they're not finding the skill to overcome their struggles and their suffering and probably what happened to them when they were younger. And I continue to tear up when I think about that. And I don't believe that I could be them. Many people believe that, oh, there go I, or whatever that expression is. I know I'm saying it wrong. But you see, as I was driving down that road, I realized I don't believe that. I think that some of us have a fight in us, a resiliency in us, a way that we want to survive, in a way that we want our lives to be better. And that's why I read tarot cards. It's why I started to channel. It's why I have people who call me for appointments, and it's why probably you're here, because what we want is to rise above our station, right? To raise our hopes, to raise our faith, to raise our ability to have a better life today than the one I had just yesterday, right? To have a better life in this minute than the minute before. And that takes courage, and it takes perseverance, and it takes a certain amount of tenacity and resilience. So today I'm going to think about my resilience. I'm going to put out to the universe how grateful I am that I have it, that I'm capable of it, that my search as a seeker has gotten me here to a place where I'm more confident than I've ever been. And I'm hoping that in some small way today I've inspired you to ask yourself about resiliency. And if you're not feeling it today, that's okay. If you're lacking confidence today, that's okay. We all have days when we can't push ourselves, when we just do succumb to the suffering, the struggle, the challenge, what's going on in the world. There are plenty of days when I'm sitting in front of Netflix because I just can't get my mojo working. But ultimately, those days pass, because ultimately I realize that I want to succeed, and success is in the eye of the beholder. For me, it means taking a step forward every day. For me, it means finding my inner strength, finding the place in me where I won't quit. All right, well, that's it for today. Please leave your comments. Let me know how resiliency has helped you. Let me know if this resonates with you. And also, too, please subscribe and please leave your comments. And remember, I'm on many social sites at this point, and I would love a follow on Instagram and Facebook as well. Thanks for stopping by.